Every motorcycle brand has that one model, the legend that sold more than anything else they ever built. From American cruisers to Japanese sport bikes and European icons that redefined the industry, these are the most sold motorcycles from every major manufacturer still in business today. Let's dive into the machines that made history. Number 18. Indian Scout. Some motorcycles resurrect a brand. The Scout did exactly that for Indian. After decades of dormancy, false starts, and changing ownership, Indian came roaring back in the 2010s, and at the center of its revival was the Scout. Powering the Scout is a liquid-cooled V-twin engine displacing 1,113 cubic centimeters. It delivers 100 horsepower and 72 pound-feet of torque, giving it more than enough punch for spirited highway pulls and laid-back cruising alike. The chassis features a lightweight aluminum frame that keeps the wet weight around 560 pounds, contributing to surprisingly nimble handling for a cruiser. Suspension includes telescopic forks up front and dual rear shocks, while braking is managed by single-disc brakes front and rear with anti-lock braking included as standard. With a starting price around $13,000, the Scout offers one of the best blends of style, performance, and accessibility in the American cruiser segment. It looks old school but rides like a modern street machine. Quick off the line, smooth at speed, and endlessly customizable. Now let's shift gears from American muscle to Italian precision, where a two-stroke street weapon carved its name into racing history and sales charts. Number 17. Aprilia RS 250. When it comes to lightweight track weapons for the street, very few motorcycles have reached the level of icon status that this Aprilia did. The RS 250 wasn't just a sport bike, it was a factory race bike with mirrors and blinkers. Born from Grand Prix pedigree, it became Aprilia's best-selling motorcycle of all time, capturing the hearts of corner-carving purists and two-stroke lovers around the world. At the core of the RS 250 is a liquid-cooled, two-stroke parallel twin engine displacing 249 cubic centimeters. It produces 62 horsepower and 40 pound-feet of torque, giving it lightning-fast throttle response and razor-sharp acceleration. The bike weighs just under 300 pounds, making it one of the lightest street-legal machines of its era. Suspension duties are handled by an upside-down front fork and a rear monoshock, both fully adjustable for race-tuned precision. Braking comes from dual front discs with radial-mounted calipers and a single rear disc, giving the RS plenty of stopping power to match its speed. With a starting price around $7,500 back when it was available, the RS 250 delivered an unmatched riding experience. And even today, collectors and enthusiasts hunt down clean examples because nothing else feels quite like it. But if all this race performance is not your thing, wait until you hear about the next bike on the list. Number 16. Moto Guzzi V7. Some motorcycles chase trends, others become timeless. The V7 from Moto Guzzi is one of those rare bikes that found its groove early and never let go. This retro-styled roadster has been the heart and soul of Moto Guzzi's lineup for decades, and it remains the brand's best-selling model to this day, thanks to its classic styling, comfortable ride, and unmistakable transverse V-twin engine. The V7 is powered by an air-cooled V-twin engine displacing 853 cubic centimeters. It delivers 65 horsepower and 53 pound-feet of torque, making it an ideal middleweight for relaxed street cruising. The bike weighs 500 pounds wet, offering a balanced feel between planted stability and everyday maneuverability. Suspension consists of a standard telescopic fork in the front and twin preload adjustable shocks in the rear. Braking is handled by a single disc setup front and rear with standard anti-lock braking for added safety and control. Prices for a new V7 typically fall around $9,100, placing it firmly in the affordable retro category. But the real charm lies in how it rides. Smooth, predictable, and loaded with character, the V7 is a motorcycle you don't rush. It's built for Sunday morning rides, coastal highways, and coffee shop parking spots. A piece of Italian history on two wheels and still going strong. But if you are looking for a motorcycle that goes from 0 to 60 in under 5 seconds, wait until you see the next bike. Number 15. Zero Motorcycles. Zero S. For riders chasing the future instead of the past, this machine was the one that kicked off the electric motorcycle revolution. The Zero S promised a silent, torque-rich riding experience without gas, gears, or guilt. And despite early skepticism, it became the most sold model in Zero's lineup by far. The Zero S is powered by a brushless electric motor that produces 60 horsepower and 106 pound-feet of torque available instantly from 0 revolutions per minute. The battery pack varies by trim, but the standard version offers a city range of 89 miles and a highway range of 59 miles. Curb weight comes in at around 313 pounds, making it incredibly nimble in traffic. Suspension duties are handled by a Showa 41mm fork in the front and a rear monoshock, both offering adjustable preload and rebound damping. Braking is managed by a front disc with a twin-piston caliper and a rear disc with a single-piston setup. Regenerative braking also feeds energy back into the battery during deceleration. With a starting price of $11,995, the Zero S gives riders an electric entry point that does not compromise on performance. It is the bike that made whirring a legitimate part of motorcycle culture and proved that speed does not always have to make noise. The future may be electric, but the next bike on this list brings Swedish style and KTM aggression to the pavement. Number 14. Husqvarna, Svartpilen and Vitpilen series. These machines were never meant to blend in. With styling that looks like it was drawn by a Scandinavian architect and performance borrowed from KTM's proven platforms, the Svartpilen and Vitpilen brought Husqvarna out of the dirt and into the city streets. These models took bold risks in design and rider ergonomics, and that risk paid off. They are now the most sold street motorcycles Husqvarna has ever built. Both the Svartpilen and Vitpilen share the same single-cylinder liquid-cooled engine, displacing 373 cubic centimeters. Output is rated at 44 horsepower and 27 pound-feet of torque, pushing a lightweight chassis that tips the scales at just over 330 pounds. That power-to-weight ratio makes them a blast in tight urban environments. The suspension features a 43mm inverted WP Apex fork up front and a WP rear monoshock, both tuned for agility and response. Braking is handled by a Bybri 4-piston caliper gripping a 320mm front disc, with a single-piston rear setup on a 230mm disc, all supported by Bosch 2-channel anti-lock braking for added safety. Starting at a price of around $5,699, these Huskies offer unmistakable styling, punchy performance, and premium components at an entry-level price. They are stripped down, aggressive, and unmistakably cool. But if minimalist rebellion isn't your thing, wait until you see the next bike. It's a Chinese-built street fighter that's punching way above its price class. Number 13. CF Moto 650 NK. This is the bike that put CF Moto on the global map. The 650 NK is a naked street fighter built for riders who want a full-size motorcycle experience without draining their wallet. For American buyers curious about alternatives to the big four Japanese brands, this one offers surprising performance and solid road manners at a price that's hard to ignore. Powering the 650 NK is a liquid-cooled parallel twin engine displacing 650 cubic centimeters. It produces approximately 61 horsepower and 45 pound-feet of torque. At a curb weight of 454 pounds, it feels planted without being unwieldy. The suspension setup includes a non-adjustable telescopic fork in the front and a preload adjustable rear monoshock. Braking is handled by dual front disc brakes with 2-piston calipers and a single rear disc, offering decent stopping power for daily riding. The bike rolls on 17-inch wheels and has a 6-speed gearbox paired with a slipper clutch for smoother downshifts. The fuel tank holds 4.5 gallons, and the upright ergonomics offer both comfort and control in city traffic or open back roads. With a starting price around $6,500, the 650 NK delivers big bike presence with beginner-friendly performance. And for those looking to stand out in a parking lot full of Ninjas and MTs, this underdog might be the dark horse worth considering. The next bike on the list is a Trow adventure bike waiting to hit the open road. Number 12. Benelli TRK 502. Benelli's TRK 502 is proof that you do not need a premium badge to conquer the adventure touring scene. While Benelli once built exotic Italian machines, today it is owned by a Chinese parent company, and this bike represents the brand's modern resurrection. It has become a bestseller across Italy and Spain, outselling even some of the more expensive Japanese competition. At the heart of the TRK 502 is a liquid-cooled parallel twin engine displacing 500 cubic centimeters. It produces 47 horsepower and 34 pound-feet of torquey curb weight comes in at a hefty 530 pounds, which gives the bike solid highway stability but requires some muscle at low speeds. Suspension duties are handled by a 50mm inverted front fork and a preload adjustable monoshock at the rear. Braking is provided by dual front discs with 4-piston calipers and a single disc in the back. Plenty for the kind of riding this bike is designed for. The tank holds 5.3 gallons, and the wide handlebar and tall windshield contribute to serious touring comfort over long distances. Pricing starts around $6,900, making it one of the most affordable adventure-style motorcycles available. Whether you are commuting to work or planning a cross-country trip, the TRK 502 offers the size and stance of a premium ADV machine without the premium cost. But the next bike might be the fastest, most sold bike on this list. Number 11. Suzuki GSX-R 750. Back in the mid-80s, the sport bike world got hit with a shockwave, one that didn't come from Europe or a Moto GP factory team. It came from Japan, wrapped in blue and white and packing serious heat. Tucked beneath the aggressive bodywork is a 4-cylinder engine displacing 748 cubic centimeters. It cranks out a fierce 148 horsepower and 64 pound-feet of torque, more than enough to embarrass older leader bikes. And with a wet weight of just 448 pounds, it delivers brutal acceleration, razor-sharp agility, and the kind of power-to-weight ratio that begs for late braking and deep lean angles. The aluminum frame is engineered for stiffness and lightness, while the fully adjustable suspension, an inverted fork up front, and a precision-tuned monoshock at the rear allows riders to tailor the ride for spirited street use or all-out track days. Braking is just as aggressive, with dual radial-mounted 4-piston calipers up front and a single disc in the rear delivering fade-free stopping power. What truly set this machine apart, however, was its accessibility. It gave riders a chance to experience real race tech without needing a race team. Even the price point, typically hovering just under $12,000 in recent years, made it one of the best bang-for-buck propositions in its class. While the GSX-R thrilled racers, the next bike built its legacy on affordable reliability. Number 10. Kawasaki Ninja 250R. For riders coming up in the 1990s and 2000s, this was the bike that got them hooked. The Ninja 250R wasn't just Kawasaki's best-selling sport bike, it was the beginner's gateway to real performance without the intimidation factor. Powering the bike is a liquid-cooled parallel twin engine displacing 249 cubic centimeters. It delivers 32 horsepower and 16 pound-feet of torque, giving it just enough punch for highway speeds without overwhelming new riders. The Ninja weighs just over 375 pounds wet, making it incredibly easy to handle in city traffic or parking lots. Suspension duties are handled by a conventional 37-inch telescopic fork in the front and a unitrack monoshock in the rear, plush enough for daily riding, yet responsive enough for spirited weekend blasts. Braking comes from a single disc setup front and rear, giving riders progressive stopping power that feels forgiving, not grabby. With a starting price of around $4,900 during its peak sales years, the Ninja 250R offered unbeatable value. Even today, it's remembered fondly by seasoned bikers as the bike that started it all, a lightweight champion with a heavy legacy. But the next bike is probably the most reliable motorcycle on this list. Wait until you see what brand it's from. But before we go to the next bike, these aren't surface-level rankings. Every model in this countdown earned its place through sales, legacy, and impact. Like this video and subscribe now to get more fact-backed stories, minus the dealership fluff. Number 9. Honda Super Cub. There is no other two-wheeled machine that has defined global mobility quite like this one. Launched in the year 1958, it quickly became a staple of everyday life across continents, from the bustling streets of Tokyo to the alleys of Cairo. More than 100 million units later, it stands as the most produced motorcycle in history, and that title was earned through quiet, unstoppable consistency. Beneath the iconic step-through frame is a humble yet efficient single-cylinder, air-cooled 4-stroke engine with a displacement of 110 cubic centimeters. It puts out approximately 9 horsepower and 8 pound-feet of torque, just enough to zip through urban traffic with ease. Weighing a feather-light 240 pounds, it feels nimble and confidence-inspiring, particularly for newer riders. And with its semi-automatic automatic 4-speed gearbox and automatic centrifugal clutch, the Super Cub eliminates the learning curve of manual shifting, making it incredibly beginner-friendly. Its suspension setup includes a simple telescopic fork up front and twin shocks in the rear, tuned for light-duty comfort. Braking is handled by drum brakes on many models, although modern variants now come equipped with a front disc and anti-lock braking systems for enhanced safety. Best of all, the Super Cub remains one of the most affordable motorcycles on the market, often priced between $3,000 and $4,000 depending on trim and region. Now let's look at a cruiser that helped shape American riding culture. Number 8. Harley-Davidson Sportster 883. Very few machines embody the soul of American motorcycling the way this one does. Since its debut in the year 1986, it has become a rite of passage for generations of riders. Beneath its classic frame is an air-cooled V-twin engine with a displacement of 1,200 cubic centimeters. Though the name suggests otherwise, this became the standard engine in later versions of the 883. It produces around 50 horsepower and 55 pound-feet of torque, more than enough to deliver the thick low-end pull that defines the Harley experience. Power runs through a 5-speed transmission and belt final drive, prioritizing smoothness and simplicity. The wet weight comes in just under 600 pounds, offering a stable and planted ride while remaining manageable for new or shorter riders. With a seat height under 28 inches, it inspires flat-foot confidence at stops. Suspension includes traditional telescopic front forks and dual rear shocks, tuned more for comfort than precision. Braking is handled by single-disc brakes front and rear, offering steady stopping power that matches the bike's laid-back cruiser nature without overcomplicating things. And with a typical price tag between $11,000 and $12,000 depending on trim and dealer markup, the 883 remains one of the most affordable ways to get into the Harley world. The Sportster brought freedom to the streets, but the next bike, it brought fire to the racetrack. Number 7. Ducati Monster 600. In the early 1990s, one bold move transformed a struggling Italian brand into a global force. Ducati, long known for its track-focused superbikes, suddenly took a gamble, ditching full fairings and racing ergonomics in favor of a raw, exposed urban brawler. At its core, the Monster 600 was powered by a 583 cubic centimeter air-cooled 4-stroke V-twin engine with a 2-valve desmodromic system producing around 53 horsepower and 40 pound-feet of torque. It used a 6-speed manual gearbox and a dry clutch consistent with Ducati's design language of the time. The bike weighed just over 400 pounds dry, or about 435 pounds wet, giving it an agile and responsive feel ideal for city streets and canyon runs. Suspension included a non-adjustable 41-inch telescopic fork up front and a preload adjustable rear monoshock, tuned for balance and control. Braking came from a single front disc with a 2-piston Brembo caliper and a rear disc setup. It rode on 17-inch alloy wheels with sport touring tires. Fuel capacity was 4.5 gallons and ergonomics encouraged a sporty but comfortable riding stance. And thanks to its affordability, originally priced around $5,500, it became the best-selling Ducati in history, with over 300,000 units sold. Now let's go from Italian minimalism to German precision. Number 6. BMW GS Series. For BMW, adventure is not just a tagline, it is a lifestyle, a calling, and for many a rite of passage. No motorcycle captures that spirit more fully than the GS Series. Specifically, the R1200 GS and its successor, the R1250 GS, have become BMW's most iconic and best-selling models. At the heart of the R1250 GS is a horizontally opposed air and liquid-cooled twin-cylinder boxer engine. It displaces 1,254 cubic centimeters and produces 136 horsepower and 105 pound-feet of torque. That wide, torquey curve gives it remarkable versatility, from crawling through forest trails to cruising at Autobahn speeds with ease. Despite a curb weight of 548 pounds, the GS feels surprisingly nimble due to its low center of gravity and finely engineered chassis. BMW's telelever front suspension and paralever rear swing arm are electronically adjustable through the dynamic ESA system, which lets riders fine-tune settings for terrain, passenger weight, or riding style. style. Braking is handled by dual front discs with 4-piston calipers and a single rear disc with a 2-piston setup. A 5.3-gallon fuel tank and 34-inch seat height round out its adventure-ready design. As of 2025, the base model starts around $17,900 with fully loaded trims exceeding $24,000 depending on packages. But the GS's greatness goes beyond engineering. Now we move to a brand known for racing bloodlines and track domination. Number 5. Yamaha YZF-R1. In the late 1990s, Yamaha didn't just enter the leader bike wars, they changed the game entirely. The year was 1998 and the motorcycle world was about to meet the YZF-R1. It wasn't just another Japanese superbike. The original YZF-R1 was powered by a 998 cubic centimeter inline 4-cylinder engine producing 150 horsepower and 74 pound-feet of torque. That alone turned heads, but what truly shocked the industry was its wet weight, just under 440 pounds. This gave the R1 an outstanding power-to-weight ratio for its time. The bike featured fully adjustable 41-inch inverted front forks and a rear link type monoshock, allowing precise tuning for both street riding and track performance. Braking came from dual front discs with 4-piston calipers and a single disc in the rear, offering sharp and predictable stopping power. One of its standout engineering innovations was the stacked gearbox, which allowed Yamaha to reduce engine length and shorten the wheelbase for quicker handling. With 17-inch wheels, high-performance tires, a 4.7-gallon fuel tank, and aggressive race-ready ergonomics, the R1 launched for under $10,500. A game-changer. With hundreds of thousands sold worldwide, the R1 is more than a machine. It's a symbol, a statement, and for many, the very definition of what a sport bike should be. That was a sport bike built for speed. The next one, a British icon built for style. Number 4. Triumph Bonneville. Few motorcycles have earned the kind of legendary status that this one carries. When it first hit the streets in the year 1959, it didn't just make waves, it created a movement. It became the two-wheeled icon of a generation. The original Bonneville featured a 650 cubic centimeter air-cooled parallel twin engine generating roughly 46 horsepower and a little over 38 pound-feet of torque that gave it serious performance credibility in its day, especially when paired with a total curb weight just under 400 pounds. The lightweight frame made it agile and easy to manage, while the suspension setup, telescopic front forks, and twin rear shocks offered a smooth, responsive ride for both spirited runs and daily cruising. Braking came from drum systems at the front and rear, which, while simple by modern standards, delivered solid stopping power for the bike's time. Fuel capacity hovered around 4.5 gallons, and the ergonomics, flat seat, mid-mounted pegs, and wide bars made for a neutral, comfortable riding position. Fast forward to modern versions, and today's Bonneville lineup includes features like fuel injection, front and rear disc brakes with anti-lock braking, and ride-by-wire throttle systems, all wrapped in classic bodywork. Depending on the model and trim, a new Bonneville will run anywhere from $10,000 to $13,500 in the U.S. market. From Britain, we now travel to Italy, where one brand built its identity on aggression and beauty. Number 3. MV Agusta F4 1000. Some motorcycles aim to perform, others aim to be remembered. The F4 1000 did both, effortlessly. For MV Agusta, this machine wasn't just a flagship, it was a resurrection. Powering the F4 1000 is a 1,000 cubic centimeter inline 4-cylinder engine, producing 198 horsepower and 111 pound-feet of torque numbers typically seen in race-spec machines. That power is channeled through a 6-speed transmission and a lightweight chassis built from a hybrid steel trellis and aluminum plate frame for strength and precision. With a dry weight of just over 430 pounds, the F4 boasts an exceptional power-to-weight ratio. Suspension includes a fully adjustable 43-inch Marzocchi upside-down fork in front and a Sachs monoshock in the rear, both tuned for high-performance riding. Braking is delivered by dual Brembo 4-piston calipers on front discs and a single rear disc setup. Additional features include forged wheels, aerodynamic winglets, and race-inspired ergonomics. Fuel capacity is 4.5 gallons. Prices range from $24,000 to over $35,000 depending on trim. Even today, collectors scour markets for clean examples because once you've ridden or even heard an F4, nothing else ever quite measures up. Now we shift from hand-built Italian elegance to a manufacturer that carved out its reputation not with polish, but with raw power and street-dominating torque. Number 2. KTM Duke Series. Lightweight, aggressive, and unapologetically orange, this wasn't just another entry-level bike. The 390 Duke was a statement. When KTM introduced it in the early 2010s, they weren't trying to copy the big four Japanese brands or build a bland budget commuter. At the core of the 390 Duke is a single-cylinder, liquid-cooled engine with a displacement of 373 cubic centimeters. It produces 44 horsepower and 27 pound-feet of torque. Those numbers may not seem jaw-dropping, but with a curb weight of just 367 pounds, the power-to-weight ratio is exceptional for its class. It features a lightweight steel trellis frame, a short wheelbase, and an aggressive upright stance. The suspension is provided by WP, KTM's in-house brand, with a 43mm inverted front fork and a preload adjustable rear monoshock, tuned for stiffness and quick feedback. Stopping power comes from a 4-piston radial caliper on a 320mm front disc and a single-piston caliper on a 230mm rear disc, all backed by a Bosch 2-channel anti-lock braking system. The seat height is 32.3 inches and the fuel tank holds 3.5 gallons. As of 2025, the price for a new model ranges between $5,900 and $6,500, depending on region and dealer options. It didn't just outsell every other KTM, it redefined what a small displacement naked bike could be. The next bike on the list is a classic bike with modern feathers stick around. Number 1. Royal Enfield Bullet 350. This bike is not just a motorcycle, it is a global icon. With production dating all the way back to the 1930s, this machine holds the title as the most sold motorcycle in the world. That is not just impressive, it is legendary. Mechanically, the Bullet 350 is powered by a single-cylinder, air-cooled engine displacing 349 cubic centimeters. It produces 20 horsepower and 19 pound-feet of torque, which might seem modest by modern standards, but remains perfectly suited to the bike's character. Weighing in at 420 pounds wet, it delivers smooth, manageable handling ideal for both urban navigation and rural exploration. Up front, a telescopic fork with 8.2 inches of travel cushions the ride, while twin rear shock absorbers offer comfort-first suspension tuning. Braking comes courtesy of a 280mm disc at the front and a 153mm drum at the rear, delivering just enough stopping power for this class of motorcycle. The Bullet's top speed hovers near 75 miles per hour, though most riders cruise at slower speeds, appreciating the unhurried charm it offers. And with a base price hovering around $4,400, the Bullet remains one of the most affordable and dependable motorcycles on the market today. Which motorcycle do you think deserves the title of all-time best from its brand? Let us know in the comments, and hit like and subscribe if you want more deep dive motorcycle content every single day.